Hi there, welcome to That Board Game Show. My name is James Wood, and today I'm going to show you what's in the box of Nemo's War, an adventure game by Chris Taylor, with art by Ian O'Toole, and published by Victory Point Games. Now, you may be thinking that this is actually an unboxing video because this game appears to still be in shrink. However, that's a bit misleading because what we do when we unbox a new game, you'll see we've got the tape on the corners here, is that we will cut out around the back of the box, peel the shrink off just the back, and then we tape the plastic onto the front, which keeps our boxes looking nice and new for much longer than if you just peel off the shrink. Now, we don't always do this. Sometimes if the shrink has got a hole in it somewhere, or if it's really graunched up on the corners, or sometimes it can be very, very bunched up on the corners here, in which case I like to just rip it off and get rid of it completely. But this is a way to just keep the game looking nice and pristine for many, many years to come. So, with that preamble out of the way, let's actually dive into the box and see what's inside. So you can sit over there, Captain Nemo, and we are presented with a rulebook, which is one of my favorite parts of unboxing a new game, is diving into the rules and reading all the introductions and components and geeking out over all the little minutiae of how this new game plays. But I understand not everybody is like me in that regard. And for those of you out there who do not like reading rulebooks, I have a video for this game in which I play out a few turns and explain the basics of how the game plays and what you're going to be doing as you play it. So, if what you see here piques your interest, you can head over to that video and actually see the game in action. So, our rulebook is full of lovely pictures to really help cement the rules that you're learning. And I always enjoyed this part of a rulebook where they include these like sidebars that are a sort of shorthand version of what's in the bulk rules. So when you're referencing it later, you can just quickly skim through the sidebars and it gives you the summary of the main rules. So when you just need to quickly look up a rule while you're mid-game, you don't have to troll through all of the text, of which there's quite a lot in this one. Now, this is primarily a solo game. In fact, some would argue that it is only a solo game. It was originally designed purely as a solo game. But if we go to the back of the rules here, we see under optional rules, we have some variant ways to make the game harder. And we have a fully cooperative gameplay variant, which allows for 2 to 4 players to work together to play the game. Now, I can't speak from experience as to how well that cooperative mechanism is implemented, because I have only played this solo. I think I did play it once with my mom as a kind of co-op, but I was still learning the game at the time, so I don't really count that, because we were just kind of bumbling around and figuring things out. Then, I haven't actually ever seen this before because I've never read this far back into the book. The semi-competitive gameplay variant. In this variant, glory points are awarded to individual players should the Nautilus survive its mission. Okay. Which leads us into, what is this game all about? Well, this is a game all about sailing the infamous Captain Nemo's submersible vessel, the Nautilus, all around the ocean, sinking ships, stirring up uprisings, collecting treasure, discovering wonders, and doing all kinds of underwater adventure-y stuff. And it's all based off of the Jules Verne novel, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which I also had the immense pleasure of narrating the audiobook for, so this game sits pretty close to my heart. We have our epilogue over here. Now this is for all the different endings of the game. As you play the game, you will tally up your score at the end, and you will be told whether or not You were defeated, failed, inconsequential, successful, or triumphant. And then depending on which score you get, you will read your end game little narrative, which has amazing art by Ian O'Toole all the way through, showing Captain Nemo in various states of triumph or despair, as the case may be. Then we have cards. We have these Nautilus upgrade cards, giving you better maneuverability and combat abilities and things. So there's a whole deck of those. Then we have our acts. This is how the game structure is determined. So we have Act 3, Act 2, Act 1. So basically these are going to be seeded in throughout this deck of adventure cards. Your Act 1 card on top, and then your Act 2 card further down, Act 3 card further down. And then you will have a finale card, of which there are several to choose from. So there are multiple potential endings to the game. And then that will tell you what you actually have to do to survive and win the game. Okie dokie, then we've also got co-op role cards. Now this is for the cooperative game that I have not played yet. So that gives you a specific role, like the purser, or maybe you want to play as the tactical officer, officer of the deck, executive officer, or XO, tactical officer again. Oh, I think these might be for purser. Oh, right. I think these will be for different player accounts, maybe, or because that is multiples of the same thing. I don't actually know because I've never read that part of the rulebook. And then we have yielding, seizing, the captaincy, and the captain card. And then we have the driving force of this game, which is the dice. So every turn on the game, you're going to be rolling a number of dice determined by what phase of the game you're in. And that will be determining the actions that you can take. All of this is explained in detail in my explainer video. I am just showing the game off to you today. We then, whoopsie, have this very large board, which only just fits on camera. And that's going to be where you're going to be sailing around the world, going to all the different oceans. These are your various resource trackers. And then we have printed all over the board lovely player aids. So here you have the different actions you can take. This is your action point tracker. You have a reference sheet over here for all the different actions you can do. And when you roll dice, you're going to reference this table to see how well you did. And then we have a reminder of how we place ships on the board as we're progressing, removing uprising cubes, and then here's that turn sequence and combat sequence reference sheet. So because this is a solo game, they were able to make it such that all of the player aids and information that you need is all just printed straight there on the board with nice, easy reference for you as the solo player. Then we have all the bits. Now you'll see that we have that board game show baggies in here. These clearly do not come with the game. This is just our own little addition. And these contain the ships that you will be encountering as you explore the game. You're going to be finding different little ships, either civilian ships like freighters, passenger ships, a clipper. Where is a warship? There are warships in here as well. We have a little armored frigate, and I'm just getting more and more passenger ships, but oh well. So that bag is full of white and yellow ships to start the game. And then as the game progresses, you're going to be adding more ships to the bag to make the game harder, because these will be stronger and stronger warships as Captain Nemo becomes more and more infamous around the world. These are those tiles for that variant way to play to make the game harder. You could encounter a cyclone, or that's another ship. Let's see, red sky at night. That is retain for a +2 DRM after all, so that's actually going to help you. DRM is dice roll modifier, so you can add +2 to a die roll, which is a very useful thing. So these aren't all bad, unless you draw Nautilus Breakdown, immediately end this turn. That wouldn't be a good thing to do. Okay, so these are things that make the game harder and or easier in equal parts. Probably mostly harder, I would guess. Again, I don't have experience with that one. We have hidden ship tokens, so you will be placing these out on the board as the game goes, and they are going to represent where ships might be, and then those little tokens will get replaced with the actual ships as the game goes. We have treasure tokens. Let's actually show those to you proper there. And they are multicolored purely for aesthetic reasons. They have no functional gameplay difference. The different colors are just for fun. Then we have cubes. What would a board game be without some cubes in it? So these are uprising cubes, which are used to represent various uprisings around the world. We have our action point tracker there, and then that one is your notoriety tracker to determine how notorious Captain Nemo is. We, of course, have a little Nautilus miniature. This baggie contains the actual treasures. Yeah, that's the actual treasures you're going to find. So basically, those represent where treasures are in the world. And then when you collect one of these, you'll dig in this bag and you will get the actual treasures. So those are just points, and then there are some in here. We have deep sea vents. That is a wonder of the world that you can find, and that is going to give you a certain number of points at the end of the game, depending on your motive. So you'll see here we have the explore motive, the anti-Imperialism motive, the science motive, and the war motive. And all of these have different pluses or minuses to the end game score that you can get. Then you have some of these things will come up. That's a retain. You can discard to gain 1 reroll or keep for 4 points at the end of the game. So that is the treasures that you will be finding throughout as you play. In my walkthrough explainer video, I was playing the explore motive, which is the recommended start-in motive. It's kind of the easiest one. It puts the least focus on combat and more focus on just exploring the world and finding the treasures and discovering things, versus a war motive where you're out to sink as many ships as you can. And that obviously is a lot more risky than sneaking around under the ocean and just looking at stuff. Then what else do we have here? We've got our crew that is represented by these cards. So we have our second officer, first officer, Conseil, Professor Aranax, Ned Land, and the chief engineer. So these are characters that you have on your crew that can help you throughout the game. And if ever you use one of them, they are lost to the ocean depths, and you bury them at sea in a little cardboard box, or wooden box probably. And if you can avoid having to use them and send them to a watery grave, then you will get bonus points at the end of the game. And you'll feel a bit better about yourself than had you sent somebody plunging to the depths of the ocean. What else? We've got these little markers here. These are basically for keeping track of your score. They are optional. So you can just play the game out and then tally up your score at the end to see how well you did. Or if you like to know what your score is throughout and be able to have a gauge of how well you're doing, you can use these little tokens to just keep track of how well you're scoring in the different areas. Here we have some more uprising cubes. We have some cannonballs, and these are the trackers for those 3 tracks, your Nemo, Crew, and Hull trackers, to keep track of where they are. And then these are various bonus tokens that you can get as the game progresses from certain adventure cards. And then lastly, we have extra bits that I think were probably meant to be recycled. We've got these two. Yeah, those are your turn order and your infamy tracks. So we have wooden versions of those and cardboard versions for some reason. And that is it. That is all the bits that you get in Nemo's War. And this is a fantastic solo puzzle with gorgeous tool art. And if you'd like to see the game in action, I'll leave a link down below to the explainer video I did showing you how the game plays. And with that, I shall say thank you ever so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And remember to spread the joy of tabletop gaming.